Ах, Всем привет, чат. Uh, I wanted to say welcome to my channel, chat. This channel mostly about different neurodegenerative conditions, and it's mostly about multiple sclerosis overall. And of course, I'm I'm making the channel in order to make myself better when it comes to understanding different neurodegenerative condition and of course different neuron traumas as well. As you can see, chat, my main language is Russian and English my second language, but nevertheless I can speak English and it's not like extremely hard for me. But yes, of course, you probably already felt that English is a bit rough in my case. So to the themes of this video. Is there a word like that, themes? Okay, I hope you understand me. So, um, um, my name is Ilya. I'm living in Russia, and I'm 36 old right now, and for last 31 years I'm living with a multiple sclerosis. It's probably already secondary progressive multiple sclerosis for last 20 years. I have around like 6.5 EDSS, and I can walk with crutches. I have a wheelchair as well, accessible. Accessible. How to say it? Active wheelchair, which we make with light alloys, which you can actually easily transport to a car, or maybe in which you can travel throughout the country or throughout the world. This particular video I decided to make in order to remake my older video about my life and how I am living with such a big disease experience. Okay, let's say experience. And where it brought me, guys and girls. Yes, it was a rough journey. What can I say? It was a rough journey. I learned what is MS from a point of medical specialist. I wrote a book about neurodegenerative conditions, especially like multiple sclerosis, especially secondary progressive multiple sclerosis. I learned MS from a point of patient, from a point of view of a patient, because I lived with multiple sclerosis for last 31 years. And I learned what MS is from a point of neural network coding. I'm working in IT industry, and for a year probably, or a bit more, I worked in a company. We actually made neural networks for production, and I worked with different sort of data sets as well. I can code neural network as well, simple neural network easily. It's not a big deal for me. But yeah, good work in IT industry in spheres of neural network is hard to find nowadays. And it just like in a way of fundamental science. It just exists nowadays in a way of fundamental science. So this particular video I made in as an answer for a question how was my 31 years with MS was, which problem I experienced, through which I have gone, and where it brought me. It was a bit rough journey, yes. A bit rough journey, guys. Don't have any illusion. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Wasn't. Okay. Okay. As as I was 6 years old, it all began with a simple, stupid disease which I have got in a kindergarten, and from which it all started. I had like my parents lived then in Siberia, in Russia, in a Kami Republic, if you're interested. And we lived in a small rural village, and there weren't any medical hospitals back then, and because of that, my small disease, which I have got in a kindergarten, became significantly worse, and I was hospitalized into a city. And had gone through a lot of problems back then, which eventually I think brought me to my first MS relapse. Clinically isolated syndrome, I believe, yes. I have got it back then in a 6 years of age. Eventually it wasn't visible at all, like I was a bit smaller than other kids. I like was a bit weaker than other kids, but it wasn't a big problem because I went to a school in my 6 years of age because my mother didn't want to split me with my brother. And me and my brother, we went in one class in the same school. And children in that class, my classmates, they were 1 year older than me, and because of that, it wasn't actually extremely visible that I have some sort of disease because I was younger than my classmate, but eventually it became more and more visible. In my 15 years of age, when I got around like already 9 years of MS, when I have got diagnosed with leukodystrophy or multiple sclerosis because I had a lesion in my brain. They have found lesion in my brain when they tried medical expert doctors tried to understand what's wrong with me. They put me through an MRI machine, and they found like lesions in my spinal cord and my brain, and diagnoses which were given was leukodystrophy or MS. Because I got MS in such early age, it was unlikely that I have got MS. And yeah, it was a really strange. It was really strange. In a small rural town of Kami Republic, there weren't any good medical expert, and because of that it was really strange. I definitely had MS, but again nobody said that I had MS. Nobody said that what should I do, what should I not do, what type of physical exercise should I perform, maybe what should I expect from all that stuff which going to happen with me, and how I should fight it. Nobody told me anything. Like when I got like around 9 years of experience of living with MS, I got my second relapse, I believe. It happened in my 15 years of age. It was between like 7 and 8 year in a school, around my 15 years of age. And it was very strange, like very strange. When I attend my 7th year of school, in my 7th class, I could do almost all stuff which a normal kid do. I could run, I could walk, I could like play basketball, I could play football, but there was some attacks in my movement. Like I couldn't do it in the right way. I think I cannot express anything, anything, how to say it, anyway else. I cannot hit a ball in the right way because my legs have some ataxia in it, and because that ataxia, my movement pattern in a lower limb is a little bit strange. But nevertheless of that, I can literally walk easily, I can run easily, I can play football, I can play basketball, and all I had back then, it was some problem with ataxia and some problem with a strange feeling which came for me from time to time, a few times a day probably, in which I couldn't like stand for a few minutes, a few times per day. I couldn't stand. Like it was a very strange feeling. I just fall down and couldn't stand on my two legs for a few minutes. In my 15 years of age, when I got a second relapse, probably I got a second relapse because it was a rural town of Russia. Nobody said me anything. I probably got a second relapse in my 15 years of age, and my MS began to become, I don't know how to say it right, began, let's say it like that, began to become like secondary progressive. As there appeared some things which you can say that my MS become a secondary progressive. For example, I had a lot of lesions in my brain back then, but there weren't any new lesions. And the funniest thing, because I had no new lesions, nevertheless my disability score, it became bigger. From around like 1 or 2 ADSS, I become in less than 3 months around like 4 or 5 or even 5 ADSS. My movement index significantly slowed down, and it was hard for me to stay. And feeling which I experienced back then was very not easy to describe as well. It's like I cannot stand. I cannot stand back then. It's not like I cannot move my legs, it's more like I cannot hold the balance. And because I cannot hold the balance, I cannot walk. And it felt very funny, like if somebody going to give me their hand, I could walk and I could do it easily, but if I walk on my own or without a cane, I barely could walk more than 300 meters. Because after those 300 meters, I just fall down, and it was hard for me to stand up again. Because I lived in a rural town of Russia, in a Kami Republic, again, nobody said me anything. I totally, and I totally like thought that it's all going to go out and I will totally recover after that relapse, because I I wasn't see any people with MS back then, and I totally don't understand what's happening. That I have some inflammation problem in my brain, and because of that, my low limbs function it's become significantly worse. And I walked through that feeling, through that weakness, through inability to hold balance around a year on my own, because again nobody said me that I should treat my MS. And the funniest thing of it all is because it's like every year I went to a rehabilitation for like 2 months per year. Every year from my 7 years of age to my like 21 years of age. I went to rehabilitation every year. But nevertheless, I went to rehabilitation and they are trying to fix my problem. And later the doctors began to give me some DMDs, disease-modifying drug as well, for example, Capaxone and Betaferon. It seems like it was too late and corticosteroids they just didn't work as they should, and I become a secondary progressive. It's feeling like that, and from that point in time I had a serious problem with the balance. It's feeling very strange. It's like I can move my legs, but I cannot perform a complicated movements, because when I'm trying to perform a complicated movements, I'm falling down. And I cannot hold balance. I don't have tonus. Is there a word like that in the English language? I don't have tonus in my legs. It's wrong, just wrong. So eventually, in my 21 years of age, I probably got my third relapse. It was already like 20 years ago. Yeah, it was already not a 20. 15 years ago. It was already 15 years ago when I got my third relapse. It hit me in a balance again. It happened when I broke my arm, because I couldn't like walk unassisted, and I couldn't. And from time to time I fall down because I just need a cane and I need someone to help me to walk. Else I couldn't walk. I just fall down one of those days and broke my arm, because they're trying to fix my problem with my secondary progressive multiple sclerosis through applying a lot of corticosteroids. My bones they become significantly weaker, and in one of those days I just fall down and broke my arm. Breaking my arm got me into my third relapse, and from that point of view I'm moved from like 4-5 EDSS to around like 8 EDSS. So I'm not totally become wheelchair bound. You can say I become like bed bound. Seriously disabled but bound dude with secondary progressive multiple sclerosis. Yeah. It was like 15 years ago already. From that point of time, yeah, I have done so much. So much. Back then I attended university in my 20 years of age. I was like tried to become a lawyer. Yeah, I attended university. My parents pay for my education, and I was on the first course of university and tried to become a lawyer. Yeah, but because I broke my arm, of course, as you can understand, and because I got my third relapse, no lawyer career can be built in my case, as you understand. Funniest thing of it all is that I used the DMD, disease-modifying drugs, so first line, Capaxone and Betafran, and that didn't work in my case at all. It's like I had a secondary progressive multiple sclerosis with some relapses which happen from time to time. So in my 21 years of age, guys, I decided to quit university and switch to IT career. Career. I think my accent is too bad. Yeah, sorry for that. I switched to IT, which brought me to a conflict with my parents. Of course, because they paid for my university for my last 4 courses of a law degree. But by the time I already worked and I already have a pension from a government system because I had a disability from my multiple sclerosis, and I can totally support myself on that money which I made back then. Yes, it was a bit rough journey. I worked as a CEO, search engine optimizer, yes. I work in context marketing. In my 18 years of age, I found a funny job as well in gaming industry. Because I'm living in Russia, amount of money which you can survive here, it's not which you can survive on here, it's not that big than it is in Europe or in America. And even some smaller job in a Western country can give you enough to live on. So, because I know how to speak English and because I know how to write English and because it's not so hard for me to communicate in English, in my 18, 19 years of age, I found some funny job on English market, on English speaking market, as a booster of computer games. I played WoW back then, World of Warcraft back then, and Dota 2 and Dota 2 back then. And I could totally support myself for that money which I had make by working in those small companies which boosted accounts for clients, accounts of clients who lived in a Western country and where easier money can be done. Easier money can be done compared to dollar. In Russia, it's harder to make a big amount of money in dollars, but working in a Western market is significantly easier to get to be paid in dollars, and then you're just going to live on this money in Russia, because life in Russia significantly cheaper than in Western countries. So you can afford to work more and get less if you're going to work in Western countries and if you're going to live in Russia, because your life expectancy is a bit smaller, but amount of money on which you can survive here is significantly less. So because I already had job back then, it brought me to a conflict with my parents because I didn't want to get a law degree, because there is no point in law degree for a disabled dude who cannot stand up from his own bed. You understand me right? Because I had 80 DSS at my 21 years of age. And it was a bit crazy. From that point of time, I began to switch to IT industry. I worked as a web developer, work in computer games, and I began to learn neurophysiology as a medical specialist on my own, because I had a really serious problem with the multiple sclerosis, and especially secondary progressive type of it, which totally was killing me back then. And I didn't understand what's happening and how I can fix it. And it was very interesting because it's not like I had a lot of new lesions on my MRI. It's more like it was more like a stable degradation of my body, and especially lower limbs and pelvis muscles. And I had some problem with depression as well. It was hard for me to sleep. Really hard to sleep. I don't know why, but sometimes it's still so hard for me to sleep. You guys can't even imagine. I can stay awake for 3-4 days, and it's not like I'm going to be strong enough to stay awake. I just cannot sleep. It's like a mess, a breakdown, sleep neurons in my brain, and because of that sometimes it's so hard for me to rest, I think. So because my parents want for me to be a lawyer, because lawyer going to make a big money, and I would be able to protect myself and to help myself, because I have a disability, and it's very important for people with disability to have a right, to opportunity to live a good, stable life. They were totally against all of that, because they thought that 80 DSS it's something funny, and it's just in one day just going to go, and I'm going again to be one DSS, totally normal, fast running, 21 year kid probably. But the reality of it all was totally different. And in my 21 years of age, I totally hit the wall on that 80 DSS, and I decided to quit university. Yeah, crazy thing, guys. Never do that. Listen to your parents, guys. Never do that. Never quit university, especially if your parents paid for it for 4 semesters, and all you have to do is just sit a bit more and get your degree. Never do that. Eventually, because I shifted from a law degree to neurophysiology, to neural network coding, to IT industry, because I already had done some money in that industry back then, and I could totally support myself. It brought me where I am now. I wrote a book on neural network, especially pattern of neural degeneration. of secondary progressive multiple sclerosis. I lowered down my EDSS score from 8 EDSS to 6.5 EDSS. I can walk with the crutches nowadays. But overall patterns of movement in my legs totally dead. It's like I don't know how to explain it. It's like I have some lesions here, and some lesions here. And because of that I cannot walk straight. It's so funny. Like my corticospinal tract just died when I was 21 years old, and because of that died when it comes to control of my lower limbs, and because of that I cannot move in complicated patterns. It's so funny, and it's so funny. I can contract muscles. I can do squats. I literally can hold something in my hands and do squats, and do squats with the weights even, but I cannot hold balance. Yeah, so funny, life sometimes is so funny. Nowadays, I'm living in one room apartment, which mostly I bought myself, but of course my parents helped me a bit. And yeah, because I had some money, because I worked when I had like 8 EDSS, when I have, and now I'm still working and I have 6.5 EDSS. I had some money, and it brought me into a conflict with my parents because they thought that I'm going to live with them because I had a serious disability, and this disability is progressing. And in order to like stop it, in order like to at least become more independent, to become more efficient, to become more stronger. Yeah, it's all it's all started when I was 21 years old, when I quit my university and decided to switch to neural network industry. There was many different conflicts with my parents, and most of them have the same, totally the same, how to say it, fundament under them. I had money, I wanna live alone, but I have a serious disability around ADDSS, and I need to solve that first. And I cannot solve that because I should solve it. I should have solved it when I was 15 years of age, when I had my first relapse, which forced me, like make me secondary progressive and destroyed a balance in my lower limbs. Yeah, but eventually, still. Still, yes. But eventually, still my DSS fall down, and it happened mostly because I understand neurophysiology on a different levels nowadays, and I built it a funny methods in my endless tries to fix a secondary progressive multiple sclerosis thing. So funny, guys. It's so funny. Not so long ago, around like 3 years ago, when I was 32 or 33, I patted is a word like that. I patted, okay, let's be. I patted my parents' with a choice. I'm going to live alone. I'm going to make. I'm going to like take all my things and buy a flight on my own and going to live alone. Like right now, because I had some money, because I have worked, and because my DSS fell down, it become around like 6.5. Or they're going to help me and buy a flat somewhere nearby them, at least if you the one to help me, because it was really hard to live together. Yeah, children shouldn't live with their parents in Western or Russian culture. Probably like life as a clan is totally normal for Eastern countries like Japan or China, but in Russian society, in Russian culture, in Western culture, life with the parents for adult kid is something which we should avoid for. Is the word like that? I don't know, Richard. So when I was like 32, 33 years old, I parted my parents. I forced my parents to face a choice. If I'm going to buy a flat on my own, or they're going to help me and buy a flat nearby, at least them, so they could see me from time to time, at least. I'm still working. Now I'm like 36-year-old dude. I've gone through a few MS relapses who probably have a secondary progressive multiple sclerosis for last 20 years. I live with MS for 31 years. Already I have 6.5 EDSS. I'm working in IT industry. I can speak English, as you can see, as my second language. Yeah, I wrote a book about a secondary neurodegeneration, and it wasn't so bad, I think. It still wasn't so bad. I have a wheelchair. And I still have some serious problems with my legs and some significant smaller problem with my sleeping pattern, I guess. And of course, I have some dyslexia, some problem with my voice, I guess. It's better to say that. Yeah, I'm going to write a series of videos how to live with secondary progressive MS and how to fix it. How you at least try to fix it and what guys you don't understand. I already like wrote a book on Russian, and in this book had some success. Yes, I have some connection nowadays and some how to science society when it comes to ideas of treating multiple sclerosis and creating exoskeleton, but I think it's not enough. So I'm probably going to push it a bit further, and I'm going to write here a few videos about how to treat our secondary progressive multiple sclerosis, guys, and what you don't understand, what you big pharma companies trying to hide from you, and why you are losing to a secondary progressive multiple sclerosis, and from what those 3, 4, 5, 6 DSS is coming from when you are using DMDs, and those DMDs are effective, and you see that those DMDs are effective because you don't have any relapses, but you still seeing those progression on a DSS score, and you're seeing that your disability is growing. So I'm going to write a bit about. I'm going to talk a bit about that as well in my future videos, and I would try to at least translate my book to English language as well. I don't think that I'm going to get a lot of money from this book, and most likely this book going to be like something more like something of open source project, I think, because it's very important from a humanity point of view that things like that be accessible for all who gotten problems with their health in the spectrum. Oh, okay, so guys, subscribe to my channel, put a few likes please, and write a few comments. It's all I need from you, nothing more. Thanks.